Now the third one is a memory mapped IO. As you know that the third one is memory mapped IO. The third category of the bus system is called memory mapped IO bus system. We have already designed two different bus systems. One is distinct IO bus system, that is, we are using one separate bus system for IO, one more separate bus system for main memory. In isolated IO, we have everything in common, same address bus, same data bus, but control buses are different. Control bus 1 is for memory, control bus is 2 for peripheral devices. But in memory mapped IO, let us have a look at. Simply finish it off. Memory mapped IO, nothing is different. Everything is in common. That is, there is same address line, there is same data line, and there is same control line. Even the control line will also be the very same. Okay, let us see in this case how CPU is going to differentiate in between memory transfer and IO transfer. Okay, if you remember, we are giving the address spaces, right? Again, the main memory is equal to 1000 locations. Each location will be addressed. So the total main memory locations from, let us say, 0 to 1000. Okay, and interface 1, interface 2, interface 3, and interface 4. Each of the interface has 100 locations each. Each location is a register. Now, how we are going to assign the addresses, let us see. These interface addresses will follow the main memory addresses. That is, the address space will be given from 1000 onwards. Okay, there won't be any common address spaces. Total addresses will be equal to 1000 plus 400. CPU considers that even the locations which are available at each and every interface is available at the main memory itself. That is, these locations are also main memory locations CPU considers. So CPU feels that it has a main memory of 1400. Okay, not just 1000, because CPU is considering that even the address spaces that are available at the interfaces are also the part of the main memory. So the main memory at this time is considered to be 1400 in size. So you know that the addresses will be 1001 to 1100. Here 1101 to 1200, 1201 to 1300, 1400. Okay, so here in the memory mapped IO, CPU treats that entire space is the memory space. But here when you look at, memory space is very less, just 1000. Okay, remaining each of these 100 phases are falling under the IO devices. But CPU treats everything is a memory space. Okay, now you know that there won't be any ambiguity. When CPU want to perform a write operation, write to 900. Obviously, there will be only a single location under that name, under that address, because address spaces are different here. So here, if you can have a look at, in memory mapped IO, we don't need to have IO instructions, because CPU is treating that everything is a part of memory, right? Everything is a part of a memory. These are also a part of a memory. When you do not have IO instructions, rather when you feel that there are no IO devices and each and every location is a part of main memory, there is no point in having IO instructions. Okay, we can use load and store instructions. For making a transfer both to the main memory and IO. But these load and store instructions should be followed by corresponding addresses. Let us say load 450. 450 falling under main memory, right? So a word from the main memory will get loaded into accumulator. If I say load 1299, this 1299 address is from IO device. So a data word from the IO device will get stored into accumulator. Similarly, store. So in memory mapped IO, there won't be separate IO instructions because CPU is feeling that there are no IO devices. The total address space of the IO device is just nothing but a part of the main memory itself. So I do have only main memory spaces, no IO spaces. That means that any of the IO locations can also be communicated by using any of the memory reference instructions. We don't need to use separate IO instructions. This is called memory mapped IO.